So it's a very interesting and a very good subject to interact,
Mm,
which is very important for us when we are having an interaction. Like what is rigid packaging,
mm,
then what is eco-friendly packaging, and
mm.
what is sustainable packaging. Because sustainable and eco-friendly, they are used interchangeably.
Yes.
Not aware that what exactly is the eco-friendly packaging and the sustainable packaging. So first coming to the rigid packaging. Now rigid packaging generally with my 40 years background in the packaging industry, rigid packaging is that kind of packaging which is not flexible. Even if you don't feel any material to be packed in it, will have the same shape. For
Mm,
example, take a plastic drum
mm,
or take a ice cream cup.
mm,
Even if it is empty, it will not change its shape. And that is the reason it is called as rigid. So it is not flexible.
mm,
It is flexible. So rigid
mm,
packaging is that packaging which is not flexible and which will not change its size
mm,
irrespective of whether it has a pack or not. Now, in rigid packaging, it is not only the plastic which is used.
mm,
Even a glass bottle falls under the category of rigid packaging.
mm,
That also falls under the category of the rigid packaging. Now, while we defined rigid packaging, now what is eco-friendly packaging and sustainable packaging?
mm.
Now, eco-friendly packaging is a part of sustainable packaging.
Oh,
Like like a sales is a part of a marketing,
mm,
is a sub function of marketing. So eco-friendly packaging is a part of sustainable packaging. Sustainable packaging is a very broad term. Sustainability is today the way we are living, today the resources what we have on the planet that should be maintained for the future generation is called a sustainability. So today, in whatever situation we are, whether it is environment, whether it is climate, whether it is our natural resources, today whatever amount of those items are available, they should be available to the future generation after 50 years, 100 years, 200. That is the sustainability.
mm,
Now, eco-friendly packaging is a subcategory of sustainability because you cannot maintain an environment or climate or a current situation without using the natural resources. So minimizing the use of natural resources, for example, fossil fuel.
mm,
Today, most of the rigid packaging, if you see, is used as plastics.
mm,
Plastics are derived from the fossil fuel. So you use fossil fuel and the stock goes down. So eco-friendly packaging is that packaging which will not damage environment, which will use the renewable resources.
mm,
For example, a sunlight is a renewable resource. Similarly, a food grain
mm.
is a renewable resource. Even a forest is a renewable resource because you can plant trees, you can grow the agriculture. So eco-friendly packaging normally is called as that packaging which is using a renewable resources. Now coming back to the use of renewable resources, we have a different challenges. As of today, people have started moving, at least thinking about the eco-friendly packaging. But it is not so easy. You cannot live without plastic. There are different reasons for that, which I will explain you. Now, when we discuss about eco-friendly packaging, there are challenges. For example, we already have a very limited land for the agriculture growth. For example, the cost of food grains will go up, which people may not be able to afford.
Yes, yes.
Similarly, if you want to use a wood, you can make plastics eco-friendly packaging similar to plastic. You can make out of the starch, you can make out of the corn, you can make out of the wood, many things. But if you start cutting them, you start depleting it. Forest, growing a forest will also take time. Another major drawback is the cost.
Mm,
The cost of the plastic or the packaging material which we will produce out of these items, whether it is a corn, it is a starch or wood, it's very high. So I have been seeing this subject for last 15 years. that we want to use a biodegradable. For example, eco-friendly packaging means a biodegradable.
mm,
Now, biodegradable, again, there are two things. Biodegradable, one part is non-harmful. Now,
mm.
non-harmful means a compostable.
Oh,
Any degradation which can be compost is a good thing. That it will
mm,
get converted to the natural soil, it will help as a fertilizer and all that. But another biodegradable variety is not compostable. Now
mm,
that is more harmful to the earth, to the soil, because when they degrade, they emit the acid. Now, when we talk about the sustainability, as I told you, eco-friendly packaging is a part of sustainability. One part is using a material which is biodegradable, which is compostable, which can be converted, reused. So similarly, plastic we cannot get away. The only reason we are cursing plastic is we are not collecting it, we are not recycling it, and
mm.
we are not trying to reuse it. But if you see today the government norms, the legislation, the policies, it is moving towards that because we are still unable to find out 100% replacement to the plastic. Many debate has been happening internationally. I have also attended many conferences. There has been a discussion. Now, another beauty with the packaging of using the plastic is plastic for in terms of carbon footprint is the best material to use. When you produce a plastic, you do not damage the environment or carbon footprint required is very low while you are producing the plastic from the fossil fuel.
Yes,
The weight of the plastic is less. So if you use a package made out of plastic, your transportation load goes down. So if you have a less weight, you burn less fuel in transportation.
yes, yes.
If you burn a less fuel in transportation, you are helping an environment by reducing the carbon footprint. So these are some of the advantage and disadvantage where people are trying to find out the balance.
Mm.
And the best balance is start using plastic with a care. Another big technology which is coming up on the plastic side is chemical recycling. Now, we should be very proud that we have one of the largest refinery in India, which is Reliance Industries,
Yes.
only because of Reliance.
Mm,
Because before Reliance, I started my career in plastic for 40 years when Reliance was not making plastics in India. So earlier situation was we used to force to import, it was very difficult. So Reliance has helped grow this industry. Now, obviously, their focus is technology. Recently, they have developed a technology which is called as a chemical recycling of plastic. What they are doing with this technology, you can collect any plastic, whether it is a flexible plastic, whether it is a rigid plastic, any kind of plastic, it can be chemically recycled. So what they do, they convert this plastic back to the oil.
mm.
Now for producing a plastic, the basic raw material is fossil fuel. That is,
Yes.
this technology will convert entire plastic into oil and again oil back to plastic.
Mm.
If you are able to collect the plastic and recycle, you are as many as times you want. So this will be certain trends in the future. By the time technology becomes a large scale, the other reprocessing technologies have grown very well. The equipment manufacturer in Europe, America, they have developed a system where the material which is recycled is practically a food grade plastic, like a virgin plastic.
Mm.
So if you see many brand owners, big companies, they are making it compulsory now for a rigid packaging manufacturer or a flexible packaging manufacturer to use certain kind of reprocessed plastic. good question. As we have clarified the difference between eco-friendly packaging and the sustainable packaging, if we now summarize and come only to the eco-friendly packaging, we will define it again. Eco-friendly packaging is that packaging which will not damage environment. Now, we will not damage environment when we are able to either dispose it totally. For example, now one of the material which is the eco-friendly material called as is a biodegradable material.
Mm.
Two kinds. One is non-compostable, another is compostable. So compostable is more preferred. But today, the constraint is manufacturing of those materials because there is no input available. But the future, obviously, there would be some shift in a big brand shifting to a compostable material. Biodegradable will not be preferred much because it is damaging the soil. Then paper is another alternative. Now, the drawback with the paper is you cannot make a paper to pack food out of all kinds of wood, which can also use the pine. Pine is very easy to plant, very easy to grow, and it is a very fast moving item. You can grow it very fast. So now the technology has come. So definitely paper will take some part. Now the disadvantage of with the paper was it is not moisture proof. Any kind of food packaging requires a barrier. Barrier means you need to have a shelf life. In country like India, if you want to ship something from north to a south end, it takes 7, 8 days for the transportation. Then on a shelf space, you need maybe another 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. So minimum a shelf life required in today's business scenario for a food package is 4 to 5 months. Now the shelf life will come if the package is having barrier against moisture and barrier against oxygen. Though it is degradable, it can be compostable. It lacks this. So there is a technology coming up. For example, people started coating a thin layer of plastic on the paper.
Mm.
Coffee shop. Earlier they were using a plastic cups.
Mm.
Now wherever you go to Starbucks, you will find a paper cup. Now that paper cup has to hold a hot coffee. So what people have started, they started coating a thin layer of plastic from inside because what matters was inside.
Yes.
So that coffee should not get seepage out of the paper. Now even that technology has changed. There are now certain kinds of coatings which are called as edible coating. Means even if you eat paper, nothing will happen to you. That will get dissolved in the body. So people have developed now special coatings which are called as edible coating. So instead of plastic, they are now coating edible coatings on the paper, which is having a barrier against moisture. For a coffee cup, you don't need an oxygen barrier. Even a moisture barrier is more than enough. So there are the coatings which is taking place. So this is another kind of material which is called as eco-friendly and sustainable. Then starch-based, cellulose-based, glassine-based.
Mm.
These are certain plastics. They are all made from the natural resources. Some from the corn, some from the starch. So making a raw material through this would be the future. A day will come when you will find that the plastic use is getting lowered, but we cannot get away with the plastic.